Yeah, yeah.
How are you, sir?
I do great, man. It's all the last minute things that come before big launch. So just trying to make sure we got everything dialed in and just came from a little play test with the team and little tweaks
Ooh,
here and there, but that's exciting.
I like that. So everything good on your end? So
Yep,
I know we
ready to roll.
only got you for about 30 minutes. So first, let me introduce myself again. As you know, we have the most wonderful name in the world, Justin. But I am Justin Robinson of the Rusty Rupees, and this is my co-host, Kano the Monkey. We will be doing essentially a co-op stream between his and mine.
Yeah. For the future, you can call me Kano or but preferably Kano.
All right, I'll go with Kano. And then do I call you Justin or is what's a Row Ninja? I don't know what
You can
the
call me Justin. Justin's
I'm Ron.
perfectly
Okay.
fine. Do
Okay,
not
great.
call me Ron. I will shudder.
Okay, I got you.
All right. Yeah, we can start at the interview. Thank you so much for coming through today. We will be talking about SolForge Fusion. It's an upcoming tabletop game and an online game as well. And with us today, we have the developer of SolForge Fusion, or one of the developers of SolForge Fusion, Justin Gary. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, man. It's great to be here, man. Was ever the energy that you put out when we got to meet at PAX East got me fired up, so I was very excited to come
Uh,
join you here.
Man, once I realized your name was Justin as well, I was like, I have yet to meet a non-beautiful and non-sophisticated Justin. It's just,
I could not agree more.
it's
Just,
just, yeah,
there's something about it.
I'm outnumbered.
beautiful
This is
people.
gonna be fun for me.
Well, you're cool too, Kano. You're cool too. Just, it's just something about Justin's. It's just the way we are. You can't help it.
Hey, man,
I,
don't fight it, Kano. Just
I'm not. I'm
accept
not.
it. Just
Hey
accept
man,
it.
I was drawn to you. I'm sure I'll be drawn to him too.
Say, hey, that's what it is.
Eh.
So please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, man. So I've been a gamer my whole life. I actually got started as when I was 17 years old. I became Magic the Gathering U.S. National Champion. I was the youngest at the
Ooh,
time. I went on to travel around the world playing Magic, winning a Pro Tour, World Team Championships, and that's how I paid my way through college and kind of got into the gaming world in general, which was
no
pretty
way.
wild. Beat flipping burgers for to pay my way through, and then after a brief and very ill-advised stint at law school, I dropped out of there, moved across the country, started working on designing games for a company called Upper Deck in San Diego. I designed the Marvel and DC trading card games, several of their sets I lead designed, World of Warcraft miniatures game, worked on the World of Warcraft trading card game, got my feet wet with some awesome brands, learned a lot, then decided to quit there and start my own company. And that was for 14 years ago now. I launched
Jeez.
I launched the deck building game Ascension, was the first game I put out
Yes,
there. It
sir.
became a runaway success, thank goodness, because I had invested all my life savings in it. I joked back then. I joked back then that if this didn't work, I was going to have to build my house out of Ascension boxes, but fortunately it worked. And then that led me to what was the coolest moment of my life, where I was at a convention. It was a PAX Dev, actually, so it's another PAX event. And I had a talk I had given, and then Richard Garfield was giving a talk. And Richard Garfield's the guy that created Magic the Gathering.
Yes,
He created
sir.
the whole like
Mhm.
industry, changed the course of my life. So obviously, I'm going to his talk,
Right,
and
Yeah.
I'm
right.
listening to his talk. And then at the end, there's a Q&A period. Somebody asks the question, uh, Richard, what's the game you're playing the most right now? What game do you like the most right now? And he says Ascension. And I, like a kid, jump up in the back of the room, like literally like just like a child. And they all like everybody laughs or whatever. But that gave me my in. And so afterwards, I was like, went up, talked to him. Hey, I created Ascension. Let's, and I'm a big fan. And we started chatting, and it was so clear right away that we wanted to design the same game next.
Right.
Like we hit it off immediately. And then that process from way back in 2011 and that design and co-working situation has led all the way up to the creation of SolForge Fusion today.
That's
Wow.
amazing. One, can I just mention the fact that you went to law school? How many years of law school did you do?
I finished my first year of law school, and instead of doing the internship, I was at NYU Law, so dealing with the snow and the cold and everything, and
Mm-hmm.
also $50,000 a year or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I was if we got time, I'll tell another brief story here, because it was, my parents were lawyers, my stepdad was a lawyer. Like, everybody told me I was supposed to be a lawyer. I was
Right.
really, I really liked arguing with people, so that's felt like I should be a lawyer.
I feel that. I feel that on a soulful level. I really do feel that.
And so, I'm out there and I'm literally just like, I put on, I'm like probably about 40 pounds heavier than I am now. I was like miserable, just not happy. Like, I was so much so that one morning I'm trudging to get to the law library there so I could read some case law before course. I'm old enough that I actually had to read real books. And I'm in there for like hours, just like reading this case law, just bored out of my mind. And then suddenly I realized I got to go to class, and I like jolt up because I'm late, and I feel this electric pain shoot through my spine all the way up to my neck, and I can't move. Like, I have to like hobble my way out of this like old timey library and can't make it to class. And I threw my back out from reading. And that is an embarrassing story that I like to share. And I share for a very specific reason, because it's like my body was screaming at me that I was on the wrong path, and I still couldn't quite figure it out. And I think there's a lot of people out there that end up doing the thing that society thinks that they should do, right? Whether it's what your family thinks or what social media tells you. And it's the most powerful choice that I ever made in my life, was saying, you know what, I'm going to let that path go, and I'm going to do the thing that I actually like, makes me come alive. And it was a lot of uncertainty and a lot of challenges and things. It's not saying it's easy, but it was the best decision I ever made, and it's led me to where I am today. And so if there's anybody listening out there that's kind of, this story resonates with, hopefully you don't have to do anything quite as extreme as like throw your back out from reading, but it really is. I do try to spend a lot of time trying to inspire people on that path, including I have a free podcast called Think Like a Game Designer that interviews all the top game designers to try to give you insights into how they did the job and how they got it done. And so anyway, just want to help other people out there, because I feel very blessed. I have the opportunities I did, and my life could have gone a very different direction.
Yeah, I saw that you had a podcast, and you also wrote a book too, right?
That's correct. Same name as the podcast. Think Like a Game Designer. If you love the sound of my voice from listening to this, I have an audiobook where I read it as well. But I just tried to condense what I learned. So again, just coming back to my own backstory, I started as a pro Magic player, right? So I was very good at games, but when I got over the summer, I got an internship to go do game design. Game design and being good at games are very different skills. Like, I had no clue what I was doing when I started, and I always thought that there was some like magic, like the people who are creative are just like, they're just creative people, and I'm not one of them. I'm an analytic person. I don't think about it that way. But I, like an analytic person does, I just started researching. I started reading books, and I started talking to other people that were good designers, and I realized that there's like a step-by-step process. There's no secret sauce. There's nothing that I can do that you can't do. There's nothing that like, it's not a magical power. It's a process. And once you start doing that process, you can also become creative. And it's just about going through what I call the core design loop, and sort of testing things and getting iterations in and taking in feedback. And the hardest part about the whole thing is just being able to set your ego aside, because most of the things you do are not actually going to be good. I mean, I still make new games today, and my first prototypes are still terrible after doing this for 25 years or whatever.
Right.
And it's just that process of learning and growing through it. I mean, even SolForge Fusion, I kind of zipped through 2011 to 2024 in my story, but like, there was a lot of challenges along the way to go from what originally was just a pure digital mobile TCG to now what is a hybrid game, which means every deck, there's algorithmically generated physical decks that exist, which is technology that didn't exist back then. Every deck can be scanned into your online account and played online in the app that launches in early access on April 16th. Which, and that whole technology and the process of making that work was like a very challenging road with a lot of ups and downs, and you have to learn to be able to deal with those setbacks and take in feedback and set your ego aside. That process is an ever-going one for all the things we do in life.
If you don't mind me asking, if you can get into it, what was probably the worst problem you had to face, like, during that period of time?
Yeah, there's so many to choose from. I think that there's so the original version of SolForge Fusion we did actually release, right? And it was around for several years, where it was just a pure digital card game. So this is before Hearthstone, before Magic Arena, before there was like, we were the first native digital TCG that like had real TCG designers behind it and everything. And we were, we did really well. We had a lot of views, but eventually, like, it became so cumbersome to run that, and it was very expensive to maintain and keep going, and we couldn't keep the game going. So after 5 years or so, we had to shut it down, and that was unbelievably painful. Like, I've worked on a lot of games, and look, if you make games, you're not gonna uh some of your games are going to go out of print, or they're not going to work, right?
Right.
After time, that's just the reality. But if I sell you a game of like Ascension, and then we don't print that Ascension anymore, you still have your game of Ascension,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
But with SolForge, when everybody that had a collection that was our
gone.
core community,
Right.
like, gone, we shut the servers down, they're gone, right?
Yeah.
And it's actually and so that was painful, right? Because obviously I don't want to take people's toys away. Like, I want the game to live forever, and so that's
Right.
why it took me like 4 years of like rebuilding and like kind of getting our structure back and figuring out how to make SolForge Fusion so we could bring it back. So, hey, you have a physical version, and we're going to have a digital version that's going to have an offline mode. Like, we built in a roguelike campaign into the game as well. You can play the entire, so even if the worst case scenario happens again this time, you'll still have your physical decks, you'll still have a way to play online, you'll still have all the things. So learning to do build something, obviously I think we're going to be way more successful this time. We're already off to a great track.
Yes,
But
sir.
I wanted to make
Yeah.
sure that like we take care of our players, and learning that lesson the hard way was definitely a painful thing that we've had to grow from.
I want to jump on a little bit of a tangent. So, being that you were a Magic the Gathering pro and champion, and due to the fact that Magic has changed a lot over, I'm sure, since you last were a pro, what was your deck of choice? Like, what was your
Ooh.
what was your like? Hey, this deck is the one I won with. Like, what was that one?
Yeah. So I've won a few championships, so I had different
Yeah.
decks.
Okay,
But I will
okay.
tell you the general common theme between them, and I'll just give you a little bit about each one. So
Okay.
the first one, in general, I play blue as a color, which means, and I'm sorry, everybody's gonna hate me, but like, it's exactly why. I want to take control of the game. I want you to have no hope of winning whatsoever, and then eventually I'll get around to actually winning the game. I want to that's just my play style.
Oh, so you're evil.
And
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Oh,
the
yes,
right word
you're
for it.
evil, is what you're saying.
They
A little
A,
bit.
a respectable evil, because I get that. I fully get that.
Yeah, you know what it is. I think it's I feel a visceral pain when I'm on the other side of that equation that I hate. Like, so when I would play like a super aggressive deck, right? You either win and great, okay, cool, it's over, or you can't really win, but the game's not over either, but you have no tools to like play, and like
Right.
sitting in that space was so viscerally painful for me. I just never wanted to be in that position. So I'd rather the deck overruns me and I just didn't quite get there, or I'm taking control and we're going to play the game that I want to play.
Right.
So it's just like I chose my personal pain, I think, more so than I wanted to inflict pain on others, is how I would tell that story. But
Fair.
what happened was, with when I was 17 and going to U.S. national champions, like, I mean, I was a kid. Like, there was no, like, even this was like early days of the internet too. I wasn't like net decking or looking for anything that was out there. I just like had my favorite deck, and I had a blue-red deck that just had like counter spells and did, burn spells, and like it was like just my favorite deck. And I happened to like figure out kind of there was a card called Thawing Glaciers at the time that was very, very powerful, that people weren't quite utilizing as well as it needed to be, and I just kind of figured that out and did well with it. And then my favorite deck that I ever played, it was also a blue deck, but it was a blue and green and a little bit of black. It was an Oath of Druids deck, if you guys remember that card. It was basically a card that was an enchantment that if your opponent has more cards than you, or more creatures in play than you, then you get to just like flip cards off the top of your deck until you get a creature and put that creature into play, and then all of the cards go in the discard pile. And so there's like an honest way to do that, which is just like make sure that I have the same number of creatures as you, but I didn't use it honestly at all. I had one creature in my deck. I had one creature, and it was called a Cognivore. And the Cognivore was, its power and toughness were equal to the number of instants and sorceries in your discard pile. And so when you played any creature at all, my entire deck would go in my discard pile. One 20/20 monster would show up, and I would just kill you next turn. Generally, is the way it went down. It was so much fun. It was so much fun.
Oh my god, that's
Okay, can we
that's
call
amazing.
you evil
That's
now?
That's
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, fair.
evil
So-
genius, evil genius.
So here's the thing, and that's one of the things that I'm known, like,
That's
I'm able to
crazy.
use my powers for good now, right? Then as a player, I viewed my job as like, I'm going to try to break the game in my favor, right? That's like, that's your job
That's
as
your
a pro
job,
player.
exactly.
I'm going to say where are the rules bend, where the cards not quite balanced, right? And I'm going to exploit the advantage that I have. Now I've gone from the dark side to the light side. Now I use those same powers to make sure that my games are balanced, right? I'm the one now, I can help make sure that I know what the players like me out there think like, and I'm going to be the one to make sure that they have enough stuff to play with and have fun, right? Like there are edges and little strategies, but not so much so that they can spoil everybody else's fun, because that's where it's bad, right? When I'm a player, if I can spoil your fun and it gives me an advantage, I feel obligated to do that, because it's just like my role as a player.
Right.
Whether it's evil or not, y'all can judge and your audience can judge. But now as a designer, my only job is to make sure you have fun. My only job is to make sure that the game is fun for everybody. It's fun for the player that's super competitive because they have enough to think about. It's fun for the casual player that can just have a good time and have a chance of winning, even if the other player is better. That there's different, I talk about player psychographic profiles, like the player who wants to just, explore and discover cool new content. Like one of the nice things about SolForge Fusion, why I invented that game and why Richard and I were so excited about it, is like, I talked about my early days as a Magic player. I didn't have, I wasn't looking at spoilers online. You didn't have people net decking back then. So when you opened a pack of cards, like there was a genuine like, oh my God, what could be in here? Like what's possible, right? And then it very quickly after that, and it became like, okay, no, the spoilers are all up weeks before the set comes out. The best decks are figured out within like often days, but certainly within weeks when sets come out. You just copy the decks that are out there, and like every deck you see at played competitively, you're playing one of 5 decks, and that's in a healthy format, right? And that's lame. I mean, it just takes away the fun and the joy of discovery. So with SolForge Fusion, every deck is algorithmically generated to be one of a kind. You cannot copy anybody else's deck. The deck that you open when you open a pack will be yours, and it will be the only one that's like that in existence. And so you can still customize by shuffling different decks together. In the PvE mode, you can do all kinds of cool modifications to your deck. So you get that experience of customization, but that joy of discovery, that joy of uncertainty, that like ability to just like, all right, hey, listen, let's just open a booster and I'll pick 2 decks, you pick 2 decks, let's go. Or you can mix and match your collection. Like it brings back that spark that's what got me into trading card games in the first place. And so that's one of the things I'm excited about, of just like trying to play for the light side and really build a world that lets people have the fun that they used to before, all the internet and sharks like me ruin things.
Now I can definitely see that, because I've played Yu-Gi-Oh, I've played Magic, and there's decks that we've seen where specifically in mine and Kano's our night deck games. Yeah, we play Commander, and one of our friends is he's kind of evil. And I realized during some of these games that you wind up running into decks that are pretty much damn near the same, and fighting against them is atrocious, because they stack on one another and they just keep going and going and going, and it makes the game not fun because you have to sit through it all, like, and you don't really get to play.
Right.
So
right. No,
exactly. I get it. I definitely get it. I one of the things that brought me in when I was talking with you was the fact that you said the decks were essentially algorithmically randomized. And I really like that. I think that's because when Darren and I played, he beat me. And he doesn't really play card games like that, whereas I play them quite often. So I thought that was really good as well.
Yeah, and when he told me specifically that Darren played, and like I've known Darren for years. I've only ever seen him play Yu-Gi-Oh in high school. After that, like I've tried to get him to play Magic the Gathering. I try to get him to play just other games in general. He won't. Absolutely refuses. And then when he said, "Oh yeah, I had a good time with SolForge," I was like, "What is SolForge?" Hang on, you had a good time with the card game? He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "All right, y'all got to show me this. Like I got to check this out," because my background is mostly in Yu-Gi-Oh growing up. I got into Commander recently in the last few years. I played a ton of Hearthstone in the early 2010s, and now I'm on Marvel Snap a lot more. And like and then when I played SolForge, I saw a lot of familiarity specifically with Hearthstone and Snap, so I was really like drawn to it. And when you said the no two decks are the same, so if I were to mix a blue and a green deck in in the game, if I did that twice, there wouldn't be the same cards in it, or there would be some similar cards, or like how would that be?
Right, every single, so there's 4 factions as you mentioned. So there's kind of blue, green, red, and purple, which is whatever. I could talk about the storyline and the cool things around that. I kind of want to in a little bit, but and then every single deck that you buy is one of a kind. So a particular purple deck, which is the Necreum faction that has Cersei, will have its own unique set of cards. And then any other deck you buy, even if Cersei is the main character, like your commander, what we call Forgeborn, then it will be a different set of cards. So you can pick any of the decks that you have that are in the Necreum faction and then mix them with any of the decks you have in any of the other factions, and that will create your deck. So there are so we algorithmically generate the individual cards, and there's over 20,000 possible individual cards, and that's just with our 2 releases that are out so far. We have the main set and the second set.
Jeez.
And then, but because of the way the permutations work of each deck, because each deck is 10 cards that are each of 3 levels, and then the Forgeborn, there are more deck permutations than atoms in the universe. So you will never see the same deck twice. And so we've built a lot, and there's a lot that goes into doing that, as you might guess.
Yeah.
Right? We have an algorithm. The algorithm makes sure that the decks make sense, right? So we make sure you don't have any decks that are totally unplayable or decks that are like way too good. I mean, there's a range, of course, but
Mhm.
you know, we have it so like you're never going to find a deck with a zombie lord but no zombies in it, right? We
Mhm.
make sure that they always work, but you could still, because you get to customize by combining, you know, you want to try to find the perfect pair. You could emphasize different strategies based on which decks you choose to shuffle them together with and which decks you choose to pair them with.
And you can't choose 2 decks from the same faction, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, that would end up being both less fun and more powerful. So bad choice all around.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you can, yeah, please tell us a little bit about the backstory of the 4 factions.
I didn't know there was lore. I didn't know there was lore.
Oh yeah.
Not only is there lore, but I'm going to blow your mind with what we've done with the lore, right? So the world, I'll give you the brief overview of the world. SolForge, it's fusion set in the world of Solace, and it's a ice planet. Like the whole surface is covered in snow and ice, and the only source of light and heat and power in the world is the SolForge. Think of it like a giant tower, kind of like Lord of the Rings tower with the sun at the top, right? And that's where like all the magic and power of the world comes from. And you, if as a Forgeborn, you make a pilgrimage to this tower to like get your abilities and your power. And most people don't make it, and they, you know, but some do, and those become the Forgeborn, are kind of, you know, our Jedi, our kind of superpowered guys, right? So that's, and you're representing these different factions, and each faction has dealt with the fact that the world is covered in snow and what's happened, and there's a backstory about why that happened and how it got that way. But like, so you know, the Eloyan are the technological faction, and they build these cities, and they have suits of armor, and they like, that's how they survive. And then the Utera is the classic nature faction, and they just went deep underground, and so they have all these cool underground caverns using like lava tubes and kind of like almost like the Avatar kind of world, but underground using. And then you have the Tempest, who are like these nomadic tribes. They live in the mountains. They're like, we don't care about. They have elementalist powers. They don't care about the cold. And my favorite is the Necrium, who are the undead. And they're like, we don't care about cold. We're dead already. Whatever, fine. And they actually they have rituals where they'll take their like living, and they'll periodically like execute them to make them their soldiers and move them forward. It's they're good types.
Yeah.
So
Necrium is my favorite as well.
That's the story, and you want to get into them. SolForgeFusion.com has all the story lore, including some cool trailer videos. But what I think is really cool is like, I love games where you feel like you're a part of the world and you can actually influence the world. And that's exactly what happens with SolForge Fusion. So we've had the physical games actually been out for a little while. We released our first set in October of 2022, and while we were still building the app. And so when we have events periodically throughout the year where you can influence the lore of the world and see which faction becomes dominant and which of the Forgeborn are winning in different battles based on how you participate in these events. And now these events are actually global. So you can actually participate with games online, and anyone who participates in an event will then be able to influence the outcome of that event. And so like our second set was called the Battle for White Fang Pass, and we had a battle for White Fang Pass, and which faction gets it tells you which set. And so in the next upcoming release, we have another release coming in May called The Last Winter, where the White Fang Pass card, which is a really powerful card, moved to the faction that won the White Fang Pass battle. And so there's different cards that shift around and different things can play. And I'll give you one more thing that happens. If you look at our SolForge.com page and you see the lore, there's actually, if your deck participates in one of these events and has a moment that's like a cool moment that happens, our writers will write a custom story for your deck. And you can actually, it will be tagged to your deck on your account. And so that's like, because all the decks are one of a kind, we can do this. Nobody else can do this.
Yeah.
And so you'll see the different stories and cool events that have happened, and you can go through, and then those deck becomes even more cool and collectible. And it's like it's become part of the world.
Yeah.
So we've really made a big play in immersing people into our world and the lore and experiencing the game.
And how do you participate in this? Is this all online, or is it in physical events that you guys hold?
Yes, all of the above. So we have another event called Fuse Fest, where one of this is going to be happening is April 20th, and that could be, you could still join that it's an IRL event, so you could go there, play physical games. That'll be the first time some people are going to have access to The Last Winter, so they'll be able to see and start seeding the ground for the next chapter of the story. We're going to have online events that you can participate in live and battle in the app through our Discord channel. We'll have a Discord channel where you can engage, and then we have other events that'll be distributed over time, so that everybody who plays, say, in the month of June in the campaign, which Forgeborn win the campaign the most often, and it's an algorithmic generated campaign, so every time will then determine which one is the one that defeats Reclusa. It was the big spider boss at the end of that campaign, and then that will impact which cards are available in the next release. And so there's all these things that are coming, so you can participate whatever your level is. If you want to be a tabletop player and go to the events and do the live things, we have cool stuff happening. We have surprise promos and cool exclusive things. Great. If you just want to be someone that just wants to play the game and represent your favorite faction online, awesome. All that stuff is coming and is rolled out in the app, and you can find it and be a part of it right now if you go to SolForgeFusion.com.
Now,
Wow.
your game, is it on Steam, right?
Correct.
And
Yeah.
is it wishlist? You can wishlist it right now?
So
Is
yes,
it
you can wishlist it
early
right now.
access?
There's also a free demo you can download right now and play. Just start playing some of the pre-built decks we give you, and you can buy the physical game anywhere that fine games are sold, including on our main website, stoneblade.com, and wherever, local hobby stores. And then the full game will be, or the early access game will be available for purchase on April 16th. And that's because we still have a lot of features on the roadmap, a lot of new things we're looking to develop, a lot of cool surprises in store. We'll be sharing more details about the stuff we're building. But it's really great because honestly, this game has been supported by players from day one. We ran it as a Kickstarter campaign. We have over 1,300 people that are playing the full game right now from our early beta. They've been giving us
Wow.
great feedback, and they help us to dictate and shift the direction of the game. And so now we're going to just invite a lot more people in to be a part of it. And we're super active in our Discord. And you can come and join us and ask questions, and myself and other people from the design and development team will be involved, and it's an awesome way to be able to connect directly with players and have them feel like a part of ownership of this game, because that's really what we want, right? We want people,
Mhm.
this is the kind of thing, as someone who's obviously grown up with card games my whole life, like, becomes part of your identity, and you want to feel like you're a part of it. And we literally make that possible with the story. We make it, we make that personal connection. You can come find me at conventions. I'll be at, as you saw, it's
Yes, sir.
pretty available and happy to chat. I was at PAX East. I'll be at Gen Con coming up this summer. We have other people coming to other events all around the world. So it's the kind of thing that I think that sense of community, us listening to players, players feeling like they've got a voice, I think is almost as important as the game being good, right? You
Yes,
really
sir.
want to build that over the long term. So that's something we take seriously.
I'm excited. I'm actually excited.
Connor, you got anything else?
Yeah, this question has nothing to do with anything you just talked about. But I like asking this because I've heard some interesting answers over the years. If you could pick one specific superpower to have, which one would it be? Obviously not the power to have all powers, but if you had one power only, which one would you pick and why?
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess my blue player instincts are coming back into
Oh,
play
no.
here. I just feel like I've learned over the years that ability, what I call one of my superpowers right now is infectious enthusiasm, right?
Agreed.
The ability to really help. Like, I'm genuinely excited about things, and being able to share that excitement and motivate people to build really difficult to build things is something I pride myself on. And so being able to amp that up to an area where I could really impact the world again. I kind of alluded to it, but my message nowadays is really about trying to get people to live creative, fulfilling lives, and pursue goals and dreams that really make them light up and help make the world better. And so I would want to have that ability to kind of spread that more generally, bring people's, infect people's emotions in a way that really helps them to move forward and get them excited. So it's a benevolent form of light mind control, I guess, would be what I'm saying.
I mean, I'll say that you might have that superpower already, because when we
I
got
was
to SolForge Fusion, and we sat down and again, the guy you saw me with, Darren, one of my other co-hosts, he does not play card games. He does not. He strays away from them at all costs. And we were so invigorated by your enthusiasm about your game that it made him sit down, and we played a full game. And he beat me, and he had a great time doing it. So I can definitely say that this game is definitely going to touch a whole lot of people.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm actually, again, your excitement got me excited. The way you're talking about it, I'm just like, oh my god, this sounds amazing. This sounds like it'll be a lot of fun in the future.
Yeah,
You
I
said,
appreciate that, guys.
yeah, you said April 16th, right?
April 16th, early access on Steam, and then again, the physical game is out now. Every single copy of the physical deck, it just gives you more cool content online, one-to-one collection. One of my pet peeves was having to rebuy my whole Magic collection on the on the app as well as in
Right.
physical. So you can participate as much as you want in either the tabletop, the digital, or both. And yeah, I can't wait to unleash this thing on the world as once the vision's fully realized.
Yes, sir. So where can people buy the cards at?
Yeah, so again, stoneblade.com, it's available. You can buy it at local game stores. I always love to support people supporting their local game stores. Of course, it's on Amazon and all the other major retailers as well. So anywhere you can buy most games, you can probably find us.
Awesome.
And what's the Discord
The
for all those out
Discord,
there?
great question. I don't know if there's like an easy link. If you just go to stoneblade.com, there's links to the Discord.
Okay, bet.
Um,
Okay.
and so you just there's just a Discord link at the top. So that's the easiest way I think to find it. Stoneblade Entertainment is the company name, so I think you can search it that way. But if you just go to stoneblade.com, just click Discord at the top, it'll take you right there.
Nice.
We'll attach a link to the video.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Great.
Any last thoughts from you, Justin?
Dude, you guys were kind enough to mention, compliment me on my enthusiasm and energy, and I feel like a lot of what I do is I just feed off of other people, and so Justin, obviously us Justins have this energy by default.
By default.
Clearly.
No, it was
By default.
I love I work there are two great parts about the game design process. The first is when you have the idea and you're like, oh my god, this would be amazing, wouldn't it? And then there's a whole lot of hard work and not fun stuff.
Right,
And then there's the like getting to interact with people who actually are genuinely fired up about what you've done, and
Yes,
you can
sir.
see, like, you did great work. And you lit me up when I got to hang out with you before, so I wanted to thank you for that. And keep doing what you're doing out here.
Yes, sir. I mean, it's developers like you guys that really allow us to shine, because when you're enthused about your game, it allows us to also be enthused about your game, because like you said, we're kind of feeding off each other's energy. So yeah,
love
man. Like yeah, this was fantastic. So Justin, where can they follow you at? Can they follow you?
Yeah. I'm on all the things. I probably most active on X, Twitter. We used to be Twitter. At @Justin_Gary, and I'm Justin Gary Designs. Actually, the thing that's the easiest is if you just go to justingarydesigns.com, it'll link you to my Substack, and that has like articles I post every week, as well as links to the podcast, which happens I post every other week. And so like I kind of just post like news and current things and my thinking about designs there. So there's a lot of places you can find me. If you just Google my name, you'll find me.
Bet.
That's true.
And last question from me. Let's just say SolForge Fusion becomes a great success. Like, and you're able to do everything you've dreamed of in regards to it. Do you think there'd be a next for you, or do you think SolForge is that like your
magnum opus?
Yeah, your magnum opus.
It is. People have asked me questions, variations of that, and I cannot imagine retiring. I can't even imagine it. Like, I love what I do so much. I might like to not work quite as hard as I do. Maybe I'd take a few more days off and summers off or something, but I love doing what I do. And it's like, it's the same thing was what motivated me to work with Richard in the beginning, and why I do what I do. Like, I always love to sort of push the boundaries of what's possible in design and what's possible in games, right? Ascension was the first deck building game to come to mobile. SolForge was the first digital card game that was like built native digital. The first hybrid deck game that has this physical digital scan thing. We have a thing Ascension in VR. I'm intrigued about what AI allows us to do now that wasn't possible before, and blockchain gaming and blah blah. Like what all the future is. I love seeing how I can use that to make more awesome experiences for players, and that the future keeps coming. So as long as there keeps being new stuff, I want to play with it. So that's never.
So well said, I swear. As long as there's new stuff, I want to play with it. Like, excellent. Well, it was wonderful having you with us. I'm definitely going to be putting this on YouTube. I'm definitely going to be streaming the game. I probably will be streaming it with my co-host Kano. And so the app allows for like friend gaming, right? So like we can play like versus
1v1.
Yeah, you could play. Yeah, you could battle against friends. You could battle online. You could battle against in the campaign mode. All that stuff is available in the full app. And then maybe we can even get you guys a couple of extra deck codes you can give away to some of your listeners and stuff, or use yourself, whatever. But give some.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I'm for that.
Hey.
I'm for that.
Heck yeah, because it allows our people to now play with us. So yeah,
Yep.
we can do that online as well. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much, Justin.
Yeah,
You have been
appreciate your time.
fantastic.
Thank you both. So much fun.